We live in a world that moves at the speed of notifications. Our daily existence is dominated by infinite scrolling feeds, a constant demand for productivity, and identities heavily curated for digital consumption. The psychological result of this environment is a documented rise in anxiety, a pervasive sense of alienation, and a creeping loss of who we actually are beneath our online avatars. We often try to fix this with productivity apps and optimized routines, but these solutions usually rely on the same systems of consumption and efficiency that caused the problem in the first place. Addressing these modern crises requires looking back to the 19th century. Early American intellectuals gathered at places like the Alcott House and School of Philosophy to develop a framework known as Transcendentalism. This movement offers a specific response to alienation that maps directly onto our current struggle to reclaim our attention and our identities. The core logic of the philosophy is straightforward. Truth and goodness originate within the individual's own intuition and personal experience, radiating outward rather than trickling down from institutions or traditions. Today, young people face immense pressure to conform. We are expected to chase careers and measure our worth through external validation, a cycle intensified by the polished lives we constantly compare ourselves against on social media. Ralph Waldo Emerson was a primary architect of this movement, providing a philosophy of ideas that serves as a direct counterweight to this culture of conformity. He argued for self-reliance, which requires the conscious self-awareness to trust your own inner voice over the constant noise of external expectations. Applying self-reliance today disrupts the cycle of digital comparison. It allows the individual to define success on their own terms, rather than inheriting a definition from the crowd. This overload is compounded by physical reality. Dense urbanization and heavy tech reliance distance us from the natural world, driving chronic stress and burnout. Henry David Thoreau took Emerson's abstract concepts and translated them into physical action. He was the movement's practitioner. Thoreau moved to a small cabin at Walden Pond to seek an applied search for truth. He viewed his deep immersion in the woods as a way to connect with a living teacher of the divine. Modern empirical science now validates his 19th century experiment. Studies show that exposure to nature physically reduces cortisol levels and measurably improves cognitive function. Reconnecting with the natural world is a requirement for psychological health in the modern era, rather than just a weekend hobby. The movement was also reacting to the early rise of mass production. They observed a society beginning to define individuals by what they owned and the status they projected. In our current consumer-driven culture, we chase wealth and material possessions, only to find they rarely provide lasting fulfillment. The Transcendentalists argued that satisfaction comes from cultivating inner richness. This historical critique aligns with contemporary movements like minimalism, where prioritizing experiences over material gain is used to find emotional clarity. However, this philosophy has critical blind spots. Human society is an interconnected web rather than a collection of isolated individuals. This visual network demonstrates the limit of hyper-individualism. Personal reflection alone cannot generate the collective action necessary to solve macro-systemic issues like climate change or global inequality. Furthermore, as these physical barrier lines represent, the practical application of this philosophy often requires economic privilege. Retreating to the woods to live simply is an option for those with the freedom to leave their social and financial obligations behind. Transcendentalism provides a framework for individual resilience, even if it lacks the scale to address broad social structures. Developing this inner strength builds a mechanism for existing within a noisy, hyper-connected world without losing your authenticity. This internal fortification allows you to navigate the pressures of modern life while maintaining a sense of self that is independent of external validation. It leaves us with one essential question: who are you beyond societal expectations? We can only find the answer by trusting our own internal compass.